Hello, my creative ones. It's been a while, isn't it? I've had quite a long pause on this channel, not because I stopped painting, but because life decided to give me a few powerful lessons. Life has been full, sometimes beautiful, sometimes challenging, but actually always teaching. When I first started this channel, I called it like my creative diary. Back then, watercolor was my therapy and my way to breathe, reflect, and find some stillness in chaos. But then everything changed. Immigration, new country, new rhythm of life, and I had to rebuild myself from the beginning, and still art kept calling me. At the start of this year, I made a very conscious choice. If I'm truly an artist, I want to understand how the art world works. I joined a mentorship with an art curator, someone who guided me through building an artist portfolio, writing my statement, applying for exhibitions. It was practical, powerful, and very structured. For the first time, I was doing everything the right way. And you know what? It worked. I started selling, I got invited to group exhibition, people began noticing my work, but slowly I realized something inside me was getting tired. I was doing everything for results, not for joy, really. I woke up every day thinking, what do I need to post, or what should I improve, or what next? It wasn't creation anymore. It was survivor in pretty packaging. And I remember actually April. April came like a mirror. I looked at my art, at my goals, my schedule, and saw a woman trying too hard. Really. Always responsible, always in control, always providing her worst. And I realized I lost touch with myself. That's when I stopped publishing. I gave myself permission to slow down, to paint for myself, to rest, to listen. And that's when my inner journey began. Not as an artist, actually, but as a woman. And what next? Through Watercolour, I began to share small pieces of my world, quiet streets, a bridge, a play of light on an old wall. And at first I wasn't confident. I simply painted what touched me, but something unexpected happened. People started writing to me, telling stories about their favorite places, local favorite places. They was like corners that helped them, the views they missed, and maybe lights that reminder of them of home, something like this. And that point when I realized it's not just about my vision, it's about dialogue between us, the connection between how I see a place and how others feel it. That's actually how the idea of my solo exhibition was born. Heritage in Watercolour, Stories from Kent. A collection of places and emotions woven together through many hearts. And that's where my real transformation began. So, when the gallery finally confirmed the dates, I remember sitting in silence for a few minutes, both excited and terrified, and it was my very first solo exhibition in the UK. Honestly, it was my first exhibition in my life, my solo exhibition. And 33 paintings, each one carrying a memory, a story, a small breath of stillness. And I actually clearly remember the days before the opening were intense. Printing, framing, arranging, preparing, but the real talent wasn't in the details. It was emotional. I had to face something much deeper, my old fear of being seen. Standing in that place, surrounded by my own work, felt like standing naked, but not in a way that uncomfortable. It felt scared, as if I was finally meeting myself again, the part that had been hiding for many years. On the first morning, my hands were shaking while I adjusted the last frames, but then the doors opened and people began to come in. Some wandered in chains, others arrived because they'd seen my posts on the event online, and the energy started to change. One woman said, I've lived here in my life, but I've never seen my city like this before. And honestly, I didn't expect that kind of intimacy. Those words grounded me. They reminded me that art is not about perfection. It's about connection. I had also created small watercolor postcards, originals, each one tied to a place from my exhibition. So people really loved them. They become part of gentle art quest I designed to find the real locations behind my paintings, to reconnect with stories that live around us. And then one sunny afternoon, I decided to go outside and paint right there on the high street, across from the gallery, my first plein air session during the exhibition. At first, it felt really strange. People stopped, watched, smiled, some asked questions, and then a man came closer, quietly, respectfully, and asked if he could take my photo on his old film camera. I said yes, and at that very moment, something shifted inside me. You see, my grandfather was an artist. When I was a child, he often took photos of me the same way on film with that patient attention that only an artist has. So when this stranger lifted his camera, it felt like a message from him, a small sign from the universe: you're exactly where you're meant to be. And you know what? From that moment, I stopped hiding. I stopped thinking about how I look or whether people liked my paintings. I simply painted and breathed. And I let myself be part of the scene, not as someone performing, but as someone alive. The day I finally understood what it truly means to be visible, to exist fully with your art, true presence, and your truth. One more meaningful thing. Every evening I wrote down my thoughts. Not statistic, but emotions. How I felt when someone smiled, what memories each painting evoked in me. It became my exhibition diary, a record of energy exchange, not numbers. And if you like to read more, I've written 2 reflective articles about the exhibition on my website, and I leave the links in the video description. And of course, after the exhibition, I was exhausted, not just emotionally, but physically. I allowed myself a few quiet days to rest, to breathe, to simply exist without plans or lists. But my mind didn't stop. Ideas kept following. One woman who visited the exhibition actually said to me, "You have a precious gift, the ability to share." And that sentence stayed with me, because she was actually right. I didn't just want to paint, I wanted to share, to talk about what I've learned, what I've lived through, and how I turned the pressure of perfection into softness and self-compassion. And you know what? That's how Magnetica was born. My method and community for creators who want to grow through flow, cycles, and resonance. It's not about pushing harder or being louder. It's about learning to attract naturally through truth, through authenticity, through presence. And around the same time, together with my dear friend and psychologist Tatiana, we created Aliya, a space for women to reconnect with themselves through art, body, and emotion. There I use watercolor as a bridge between feeling and form, intuition and expression. Everything I do now comes from that same rhythm, the rhythm I found during the exhibition, calm, gentle, and deeply alive. After the exhibition, many of my fellow artists started asking questions about the details, planning, the little things that often go unnoticed, how I found the gallery, how I organized everything. how I stayed calm through it all. And one evening I thought maybe I can write it all down. So, not as manual, but as a companion, something to hold your hand through the process. During my preparation, I had written so many notes, small insights, emotional lessons, and practical steps. They grew into my new project, a guide called Exhibition Flow. It's not just about logistic or timelines, it's about how to move through the whole experience gently, without stress, without burnout, and without losing yourself in the process. So, if you ever dreamed to having your own exhibition but didn't know where to start, this is my way of sharing what helped me. And you'll find the link in the description below. So that's all period of my life taught me something I'll never forget, that visibility isn't about noise or confidence. It's about presence, about being brave enough to stand in your own light, to be seen exactly as you are. Imperfect, real life. And thank you for walking this journey with me, for listening, for being here. I hope my story reminds you to slow down, to breathe, and to follow your own creative flow. Stay in your rhythm and let your art speak.